Are you ready to get your health back but feel overwhelmed by the endless healthcare options? We believe God has called each of us to a specific assignment, and we want to make sure your body, mind, and heart are up for the task. It's time to simplify the process of healing. At Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer simple, effective, easy ways to prioritize your health and gain understanding. No prescription pad needed. I'm Kari, a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. I'm so excited to have these conversations around topics with my friend, Jenn.
Hi there, I'm Jenn, and together with our team at Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer an alternative to traditional healthcare, combining our expertise and experience in the medical field with our knowledge and faith to break the cycles of guessing what's wrong. We know the road to healing, feeling good again, can be overwhelming. You can expect honest conversations around the ups and downs of healing. The truth is, there are so many layers to healing. Because we've taken the time to learn where true healing comes from, we've learned how to help other women to discover a different way of caring for themselves. Join us every week for new episodes as we discuss topics that are personal and pertinent to your healing journey. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Jenn here with Kari, and we are going to talk about something that I feel like is sort of a buzzword now. If you've heard of the hormone cortisol, which is an adrenal hormone, it's gotten a lot of awareness lately. People are talking about the cortisol belly, the cortisol spikes, cortisol detox. So today we want to really just talk about what is cortisol? What is it actually doing in the body? Why are people suddenly paying attention to it now? Of course, I think we've been paying attention to it for a long time.
Yeah.
But I think people are just starting to come into some of the awareness, which is great, right? But there's a lot of misunderstanding. And so we just want to, just kind of clear that up to talk about just what's really driving cortisol issues in the first place. So I know for a lot of people, they probably are interested in cortisol, but they don't know how it works or why we need it, or they think it's just a bad thing and we need to get rid of it.
Exactly.
Not the case.
No, for sure.
So cortisol is a stress hormone. It's produced by the adrenals, and it's produced in response to stress. So it's one of the first hormones that goes up with stress. So any sort of stress, that could be your blood sugar dropping, cortisol will be released. You could be thinking about something from work and cortisol will be released. You could be thinking about hosting a big holiday with a lot of people and cortisol is released.
Oh, now we're getting to it. No, you could be working out strenuously.
Yes.
Cortisol will be released, right?
Yes. So what's funny is the brain can't differentiate like what's an actual threat and what you're just thinking about. So you will get that cortisol release. So cortisol will regulate your blood sugar. So as I said, if the blood sugar drops, the stress hormones come on board to activate that stored glucose to make sure that you have enough blood glucose. Helps with energy production, right? It wants to get you out of the way of the saber-toothed tiger if there really is a threat standing in front of you. It does influence immune function. So unfortunately, as cortisol increases, our immune system function decreases, which is why in mainstream medicine they use with a fairly large immune stressor, they will use steroids, right, to kind of dampen the immune response. Mm-hmm. But for us, that's why we usually get sick after we've been stressed, because we've dampened the immune response. It's what cycles throughout the day to help you fall asleep and wake up. It doesn't help you fall asleep. The negating of cortisol and the
drop,
right, the drop in cortisol and the increase in melatonin is what helps you fall asleep. But what wakes you up in the morning is the rise in cortisol, and that's what helps us get going in the morning. So it's highest in the morning, and then it cycles slowly down throughout the day until it drops off. With melatonin coming on board, hopefully. But we want you to know that you can't function without cortisol. Cortisol is important. It's how we
Yeah.
handle stress. Like I said, it's how we wake up. It's how we maintain our blood sugar. And so it's really important. But the problem is because of our modern lifestyles, and Kari, maybe you want to talk about this, why is cortisol running rampant these days?
Yeah. And when what you mentioned about cortisol and that's the way that it should go.
Right.
But a lot of ours maybe are even opposite. It might be too low in the morning, too high at night, right? It can be all kind of all over the place
Yeah, that's the
because
tired and wired. You wake up tired
right.
and then you get wired at night. And that's a flipped cortisol curve, which we do see.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's like on your way to burnout kind of in those terms. But yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned it's not this is not the enemy. Like cortisol is not the enemy. It's there because your body's made to survive, and that is part of how it does that. But whenever you are under stress for long periods of time, it can definitely get out of whack, and that's kind of when we see these negative things come up. But why is everybody talking about cortisol? Why is it sort of like trending right now? Well, there's just chronic stress everywhere, really. Just it comes from so many different areas. Um, People overwork. They don't have enough rest. They're not prioritizing sleep. That's a huge one. There's constant stimulation. That's probably the number one thing, right?
Yeah, for
Truly,
sure.
like constant stimulation. Even if you're not working, even if you're not, out and about, right? We're on our phones. We don't have that true mental rest, which definitely plays a part with this. But that affects our blood sugar, which again, as Jenn mentioned, that's a whole cycle, right? If your blood sugar is unstable, your body's going to use cortisol to try to stabilize it. We rely on caffeine. You guys, I was at this youth conference and these kids were chugging Alani's and Monster drinks. And I'm just like, what are we doing to ourselves?
Yep.
It's
Yep.
not good. It's not good.
No.
Maybe you're skipping meals, right? You're just relying on that caffeine as your breakfast or something. Double whammy. Um, there's just yeah, there's a lot of things that bombard us. Some we can control and some that we cannot control. But cortisol really does try to hold it all together for us. But if it gets out of balance, if we start seeing some of these symptoms that we'll talk about, what it feels like, that's just your sign, right? Your body's not messing up. It's just your sign maybe to look at some of these areas and see where do I need to cut back? Where do I need to take charge? And yeah,
Yeah.
think about these things more.
Yeah. So, prioritizing sleep, prioritizing blocking blue light at night. Remember, blue
Yeah.
light is strongest midday, and that tells the body, you need to be awake, strong adrenal hormones because it's midday. If you're getting that signal right before bed, that's probably part of the reason why you can't fall asleep because cortisol is increasing in relation to that blue light. So, again, back to our circadian rhythm. I know we feel like we probably sound like a broken record, but super, super important. And then, as Kari mentioned, you put that on top of skipping meals, dieting, you're relying on caffeine. That
Mhm.
cortisol is pumping.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
it's something that and then remember too what we talked about, even just thinking about things. So if you're on social media, and you're looking at something, stressful, or you're reading the news or listening to the news, that will, if you're constantly tuned into the news cycle, th
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
no.
yes,
Don't
that
do
can
it.
definitely be the problem.
You
So I
gonna
wanna
talk about general adaptation?
Yes, I do wanna mention that. Should we? I
Yeah.
feel like that's so, there was a scientist called Hans Selye, and he developed something called the general adaptation response. And basically, that's our body's normal response to stress. So the initial phase is what's called the alarm phase, right? This is when the body is preparing to get out of the way of the stressor. And so cortisol normally will increase, ideally, right? To give us more energy, more blood sugar, more awareness, right? Heightened awareness, so that we can, move and get out of the way, the fight or flight. Now, ideally, that happens short term, right? That alarm phase, we get out of the way of the stressor, and then cortisol comes back down. The problem now with modern living, because we have so much going on, is we've stayed in that initial phase, right? So cortisol,
Yeah.
um, stays increased. DHA starts to compensate. DHA is another adrenal hormone, which is responsible for, it's an androgen, so it's responsible for the way that we make hormones, our libido, I should say our sex hormones, because adrenal hormones are a little bit different. They're made from the same um, uh, original product, which is cholesterol, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So in that initial alarm phase, if we don't get out of the alarm phase, we go into a maintenance phase where the body tries to compensate and go into a resistance phase. This is where cortisol and DHA may stay elevated, right? So the body's trying to manage the chronic stress and repair. Um, Ideally, the stressor turns off and we come out of this resistance phase, the hormones start to regulate. Well, what happens over time is, again, we're staying in this chronic activated stress. We go into the exhaustion phase. So, alarm phase is the first phase, resistance is your second phase. And then, where we're seeing a lot of people, and sadly, where I'm seeing a lot of kids now,
Yeah.
is the exhaustion phase. So, this is where both DHA and cortisol are low. Life feels overwhelming. People can't cope. They can't keep up. They might go into the freeze phase where they literally just feel frozen. They can't
Yeah.
function. They can't get going, can't do things. And that's because the body doesn't have the hormones to sort of, do what it needs to do. So that general adaptation phase is the normal way that the body should work. But what happens is sometimes we get stuck in some of these phases. So the alarm phase, let's talk just a little bit about what high cortisol, Kari,
Yeah.
maybe looks
Yeah.
like, feels like, so they kind of know.
Yeah, I mean, it can feel different for different people for sure, but typically, anxiety, irritability, like waking in the middle of the night, sometimes between 2 and 4, not always, but that's sort of the hours that are really common.
Yeah.
Blood sugar swings, you could feel wired but tired. Um, it just kinda depends. Everybody's a
Yeah.
little bit different with that. Stubborn weight is a big one too. Like, why can't I lose weight? I'm doing everything that I used to do. That cortisol, if it's high, it's a glucocorticoid, so yeah, your body's in protective mode, essentially. It's
Right.
like, I don't feel safe, so I'm just going to, like, hold on to all of my reserves that I can because it's wired for survival.
Yeah.
Would you add any?
No, I just wanted to expand on the tired and wired is if you wake up tired and you feel wired at night, it's because that cortisol is higher at night.
Yeah,
That's the initial really good kind of not I don't want to say initial because it's more in the resistance phase that cortisol is flipped.
yeah.
If you have problems falling asleep at night.
Oh, do we wanna talk about night owls? Oh, I'm just a night person.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Might wanna reconsider and examine that a little bit.
Yeah. So
Um,
what happens is, cortisol could initially be high, right? And that's what it would feel like, right? Irritability, the blood sugar swings, the crashes, right? You feel like you could go, 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 go all the time. You feel like you're running out of 10. But what happens is that cortisol then becomes dysregulated. So now you have problems falling asleep. So you wake up tired. Um, you know, uh, e basically the night and day sort of flipped, so it's low in the morning, high at night, or you get to that chronic fatigue where it's just low all day. You wake up tired and you're tired all day, and you could
yeah,
sleep and sleep and sleep, and it feels like you can never really
get
catch up.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are some other drivers of cortisol dysregulation? Like, we've talked about just, like, stressors, general life stressors, let's say, but there are definitely some other ones that we see a
Yeah.
lot.
The ones that we talk about all the time are the physical stressors. So, the chronic immune activation issues, so gut
Mhm.
issues, food sensitivities, um, changes in the gut lining that cause chronic immune activation, autoimmune patterns, and just general infections, any mold, bacteria, parasites, chronic viral that a lot of us are carrying. Again, those are all stressors. Environmental toxins. So we're getting it through our food, herbicides, pesticides, in the environment, heavy metals, mold. So, whether you've had mold in your house or you've been exposed to a lot of times, sadly, a lot of kids at school are exposed to
Yeah.
mold. which is another one. Then you pair that with nutrient depletion. So now you're low in your minerals because you've been trying to keep up for so long. So sodium, potassium are low because they're
Mhm.
being used at a very high rate to sort of keep up. Sodium and potassium are usually the first ones that are affected, and then calcium and magnesium, trace minerals. Then you add in the nervous system load. So there's past trauma, there's repressed emotions. Now you add on the chronic daytime stress just of living, taking care of kids, the lack of rest. All of a sudden, the body's like, whoa, like
Yeah.
this is a problem. You have filled the rain barrel and you can no longer keep up.
Yeah.
So cortisol is often just responding to what the body's dealing with. It's barely a root problem itself. And by the way,
Yeah.
if someone is telling you or talking to you about hormones, but they haven't regulated cortisol, DHA, and melatonin first, run. Because
Yeah.
those must be regulated first before even considering hormones, in my opinion. Kari, what do
Yeah.
you
No,
think?
definitely, for sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot we could say on that probably.
Yeah. I would
One
just
one of the things that you did not mention up there that I just came to my mind is just over exercising and under eating. That's a
huge.
really
Oh,
bad
it is.
combo.
Right.
And I think a lot of women fall into that, especially in the fitness industry, or especially if they're like, they're into working out. It's like, oh, I'll just eat less and work out more if I want to lose weight. And it backfires, right? Because of
Yeah.
all of these things are added onto that bad combo. And it's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
And I was just talking to a client yesterday, and she had the realization that her nervous system, she noticed her sleep disruption. She noticed her feeling of overwhelm was much worse when she was under eating. And
Yeah.
so she put it together that when she doesn't eat enough, she doesn't sleep well, and she feels overwhelmed because the
And
body's not fueled well.
yeah, and listen, we talk a lot about protein. Yes, you need the protein, but guys, you also need the carbs because that's
Yes.
what's gonna help blunt this cortisol effect. And if
Yes.
you aren't eating carbs, it's a bad combo too.
And that is a really obvious sign of high cortisol too, is you're always craving sugar. It's because your body's trying
Yes.
to blunt that cortisol.
Yes.
Yes.
Your body is not messing up.
No.
You don't just don't have enough willpower. Like, it's
Right.
truly a physiological things, like, your body's like, "I need
Mhm.
something, so I'm
Yes.
gonna make you crave it so you'll give in," right? And it
Right.
uses that sugar, and tries to do something with the other things if you're eating a bunch of junk, but
Right.
anyway,
And
um
go ahead.
no, you're
Yes.
good.
I was just gonna say that's why so I was just gonna talk about the steps to quote unquote regulating cortisol.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to jump to the quick fix, right? Okay, I need a detox. Okay, I need an adrenal supplement. Instead of, okay, how do I support my body foundationally so that the body feels safe and it doesn't have to be in fight or flight?
Right. Or else you're constantly gonna be chasing.
Yes.
It just doesn't, and that's why you feel like nothing works. It's not because of your willpower, it's not it's simply because you're not addressing the root issue of what's driving all of this dysregulation. And again, you might have some big stressor like an immune burden or a toxic overload. Like, yes, those do play into part, but what we see over and over again is those basics are not being met. It's those foundations that's why we harp on them all the time because they
Yeah.
really do make a huge difference. They signal safety to your body.
Yeah. So, protein, complex carbs, fat at every meal,
Yeah.
regular meals. That's a sign of safety to the body in and of itself is knowing that the body's going to get food at the same time every day. So
Yeah.
it feels that support. The minerals, using a good, we love electrolytes, but even just other foundational nutritional supplements, minerals are absolutely foundational. Um, and then addressing the other things that need to be addressed, right? So gut health, the toxins, immune stress. Once we've done, the lifestyle things and the foundations, do you want to talk a little bit just about? You're really good at the nervous system regulation and the foundations. Do you want to talk about some of those?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I was just going to mention, of course, nervous system regulation, which just means trying to signal safety to your body, right? And just trying to help your body to realize that it's safe. Simply just shifting your breathing. Obviously, going outside and grounding, putting your feet on bare, grass, earth, just slowing down, right? I mean, truly, like, it's so crazy. I just find myself wanting to go at like warp speed for things. I think it's so innate in us. If we've multitasked for years, if we have a job that requires that of us, we've got to get out of that at some points of our day, right? But it just carries over. I know I've definitely had to work on that. But circadian rhythm's a huge part of this too, because of that signaling of if you go outside in the first morning, you're signaling to your brain, okay, it's morning. Okay, I need to produce melatonin at night, and to regulate that cortisol and melatonin. That's really, really key. Helps you sleep better. Like it really is a big part of all of this. So just spending more time outdoors is,
if you can. Yeah. And then just like we said, consistent meal times, consistent sleep times.
Yeah.
Trying to ideally get to bed before 10:30, 10:45 is ideal.
I mean, you kind of need to like baby yourself a little bit. You need to mother yourself a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You do that for your kids. You know that they thrive on these things. You want to make sure that they eat. You want to make sure that they rest. All of the things that we're talking about, like, you need to take that and apply it to yourself. Like it's worth it. It's important.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
So I hope that this has helped, just to kind of maybe put some things that you've heard, maybe even us talk about on other podcasts you've heard in, wherever you kind of research for things. I hope we kind of put some of that together and put it in perspective, gave you some really good things that you can maybe just remember, like, oh, yeah, I did used to do that. Okay. Maybe I need to incorporate that again. We all need reminders. So hopefully either this was a reminder for you or you learned something new about cortisol. It really does affect our health in a huge way. Like, that's why everybody talks about it.
Yes. Yes. And, sometimes you might not know where you are based on your symptoms. You're like, well, I have some of the high cortisol symptoms and I have some of the exhaustion symptoms. And that's where testing might be important. There is a saliva test. It's called an adrenal stress index that we use to really see where your cortisol is. Is your cortisol curve flipped? Is it high at night and low in the morning? So if you feel like that's where you are, where you have some symptoms of high cortisol and some of the exhaustion symptoms, testing is definitely an option just to kind of see where to start and to regulate that stress response with, some of the basics first.
Yeah, for sure. So if you have any questions, if you want more information on something, please let us know. You can find how to contact us in the show notes or the description of this video. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
If this episode has served you in any way, drop a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love it if you'd share any aha moments or takeaways on Instagram and tag us at Cornerstone Integrative Healing.
And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We want to continue to walk this journey with you. Until next time, friends, know that we are praying for you.